Hey guys, welcome to another video on Bharat and Germany. My name is Bharat, and today I have Amit with me from his YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link for this in the description below, and he has been making some very interesting vlogs about Ireland and UK. So all of those information you will also find on his channel. In this video, I wanted to compare with Amit and have a healthy discussion about how is it to live and work and study, let's say, in Ireland versus Germany. And for more stuff, like, of course, the link for all of the things will be in the description below. Welcome, Amit. I'm super happy to have you on the channel.
Thank you so much, Bharat, for inviting me.
Mhm. So, Amit, for the viewers who are new to you, like, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure, Bharat. So my name is Amit, and currently I'm in UK right now. But I lived and studied and worked in Ireland for a very long time, for around 3 years. So I went to Ireland to study masters in finance. That was a 1 year course I did over there, and then I worked for around 2 years, and now I moved to Belfast.
Hmm. That's very, very nice. And Amit, so like, when did you get the idea of starting the YouTube channel? So like, what inspired you to like, okay, now it's time to start making videos about this?
Sure, this is a very good question actually, because so it happened during the lockdown time. It happened in 2020 when everything was shut. There was pandemic everywhere, and so one day I'm an avid YouTube watcher. I've seen a lot of your videos, Bharat, as well, and they were really inspiring and knowledgeable. So I thought, why just to consume media and to keep on looking when I can also share some of my thoughts as well. So this is how my channel was established in last year in 2020, and it's been a roller coaster since then.
That's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, I personally also believe like it always makes sense to like actively also like add some kind of like content to the knowledge base that you're building online, and I think like starting your own YouTube channel. So I think one thing
Hmm.
that many people don't understand is they feel like, okay, like somebody's already doing this stuff for Germany, somebody's already doing this stuff
Hmm.
for Ireland. The
Hmm.
thing is like you can always still do your own thing because your story is always going to be different than our stories. So I think
Right,
it
right.
always makes sense to like kind of like add your perspective to the online data bank,
Right.
knowledge base that you're having. Very nice.
Yeah,
That's
it's like I saw this video in which they were comparing why people, what kind of different perspective people bring. It's like reviewing a product, for example. It's a common product everyone uses, but again, everyone brings something different to the review things.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really a good thought. So Amit, tell me a bit about the education system in Ireland. Like, how was it to study there? Like the tuition fee, the number of universities, if you know any type of universities, and so on. Anything you can tell
Right.
us about that?
Right. So in Ireland, there are three or four major cities where a lot of students choose to go. The first being the capital, which is Dublin. So there are many universities, and to name few, first is Trinity College Dublin. It's a very reputed and old college. Second is UCD. It is again a very reputed college. And the third is DCU. Fourth is DIT. Similarly, there are 6 7 main colleges in Dublin itself. But along with Dublin as well, there are big cities like Galway, which is known as the music capital of Ireland, and they have a lot of musicians coming from that small city of Galway, which is in Atlantic coast. And the third is Limerick, fourth is Cork. So there are many good universities in Ireland.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice. And so, how does the general structure look like for the universities? Because I think you told me like you did a 1 year master's program. Like, was it fine to find a job afterwards and so on? What was the fees and things like that?
Right, Bharat. So how it works in Ireland is when you go to Ireland, usually the study duration is 1 year. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a 1 year course in Ireland, and in that 1 year, you will get a visa called student visa, or stamp two, they call it. That is a student visa in Ireland, and later on you get a two study of post study work visa, which is very helpful. So during that next 2 years, you have to look for a full time job, which will sponsor your visa as well, and then you can permanently settle in Ireland.
Mm-hmm. That's very nice. So I think that this is a very nice comparison that like we kind of see right now in Germany. The job search visa that you get, it's for 18 months, and I see like from your now experience that it's like for
Hmm.
2 years in Ireland. I think that's like
Right.
also pretty nice. And
Hmm.
how is the education fees and stuff for the universities and like the scholarships?
So in general, the education cost is not exorbitantly high what we see in US and other part of the world like Australia and Canada. So the best part is it is a 1 year course. Most of the courses are for 1 year, and the fees varies from 10,000 euros. So euro is the currency which is there in Ireland as well, and the fees is from 10,000 up to 17, 18, sometimes 20,000 as well, depending on the course.
Mhm.
And for scholarship as well, there are many opportunities, and a lot of big colleges like Trinity, they do have a lot of scholarship for people who are excellent in their fields or have done some of the work which will guarantee them scholarship. So there are plenty of scholarship opportunities as well.
Okay, that's very nice. So, if I talk about Germany, like, so most of the German public universities, they don't have any tuition fee whatsoever. Like, you
Mm-hmm,
have some semester contribution that you have to pay every single
mm-hmm,
semester, and the
mm.
cost ranges from 150 to 300 euros per semester. Now,
Okay.
one German state called Baden-Württemberg, this is the
Mm,
first German state which has introduced, I think tuition fee they introduced back in like 2018 or something,
mm-hmm.
and they charge international students, so non-EU students, 1,500 euros per semester. So for
Okay.
a 4 year, sorry, for a 2 year master's program with 4 semesters, you are ending up paying like anywhere around 6,000 euros. So that's
Mm-hmm,
pretty much the only state which has introduced tuition fee so far. Many people are like kind of concerned that, hey, like, are more
mm-hmm.
states going to introduce the fee and so on. So
Right.
far it's all rumors, like no other states have like come forward even in the last 4 years and said like, hey, we
Mm-hmm,
also want to introduce tuition fee. But like, that's one
mm-hmm.
thing that you have to keep in mind with scholarships in Germany. You don't get many scholarships
Mm-hmm.
for the master's level, mainly because the tuition fee is anyway zero. So German
Mm-hmm.
states say like, why
Right.
should we also sponsor your living costs? Like, there's like
Right.
very limited scholarships for that, because
Mm-hmm.
in general the tuition fee is not there.
Right.
Mhm.
Definitely. Yes.
Perfect. So, Amit, can you also tell me a bit about the living costs in Ireland, and then we can compare that with Germany?
Sure, Bharat. So living cost in Ireland comes something around 300 euros per month,
Mm-hmm.
which will include all your groceries and everything else, but not rent. So rent is one of the major concern factor in Dublin, especially. The rents are exorbitantly high right now. So for a single room in Dublin city, you can expect to pay something around 700, 800, 900 maybe for a really small tiny room in Dublin city center. So the rents are quite high,
Holy,
and
I wasn't expecting this at all.
yeah,
That's
it's
insane.
at par with living maybe in New York City or in Tokyo or
Yeah.
in any most expensive real estate in all over the world. It's exorbitantly high. So, for example, for a two-bedroom house, in fact, I was also looking for a two-bedroom house few months back, and I found one, but that was for 2,100 euros for a
That's
two-bedroom house.
insane. Okay, that's
So it's
crazy.
yeah,
So
it's crazy.
fun thing, I mean, when we wanted to like kind of so move away from Germany a bit, and like, wanted to
Mm,
like buy a house in some other country,
mhm,
we were like kind of like also like comparing all of these other countries like Ireland and stuff, and like what we saw is like the real estate is indeed like also like, the prices are insane. Germany
mhm,
anyways, like
mhm,
for Germany, when you want to buy a house, it is
mhm,
very expensive if you're just like,
mhm.
kind of like living as a student there. In
Right.
Eastern Germany side, you can get by with the rent and stuff with as cheap as 120 to 150 euros for
Okay.
one room. But like
Mm,
again, it's a shared apartment generally. So like you will have like, two,
mhm,
three other people like sharing the same apartment with your
mm,
own like private rooms. But on the other
mhm,
side, if you go towards like more expensive cities like Munich and Stuttgart, you will end up paying anywhere from three not 350 but like at least 400 euros, 400 to like 500 euros for your
mhm,
room. If you go towards other more student friendly city, I think the standard cost for that is like anywhere around 300 euros. That's like the standard cost for most of the hostels. And the other living cost, let's say you have to pay the health insurance, which is 110
mhm,
euros per month. Then you have to
mhm,
pay the for the groceries and stuff, we can count another 100 euros, and then another
mhm,
50, 60 euros for like your phone, internet, and like other things. So towards
mhm,
the end, you end up paying like around 600, so 550 to 600 euros per month. But like that includes everything. So rent, food, any other cost whatsoever you might have
mhm.
during your stay there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
Amit, did you also see something that it was difficult to find an accommodation in Dublin, or like how was the story there?
Yes, so first of all, finding accommodation in Dublin is not easy because you will get some accommodation, but they would be way, way expensive. So you would want to look for some other good alternatives. And even the quality of houses, the thing with Dublin is it's a very traditional city. So a lot of new construction is not there already till now. The construction has started recently, but still there are houses like the one that I lived, it was from the Victorian era. It was like 400 years back building, and it is around most part of Dublin right now. So right now there are a lot of shortages of houses. There is a lot of housing crisis, which is why the rent are inflated to the point that whatever you earn, sometime you have to
Mm,
pay entirely in the rent.
mm,
So
mm,
this is how it is right now. But yes, it is not very easy. But few of the websites that I can suggest you right now is called rent.ie, which is very famous. In fact, one thing that worked for me personally is Facebook groups. So there is one page called Flats and Flatmates Dublin, and there is one more page called Housing Rent Dublin, and those were very helpful, especially when you don't want to rent the entire apartment. You just want to rent one single room for yourself. It is especially for students who are coming there right now. They
mm.
don't want to have the entire house on their own. They just want to have a little part of the house. So that is extremely beneficial.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think this is a very good tip. I also know in Germany, for example, every single city has their own, like, housing or Wohngemeinschaft, you call it. So, like, shared
Hmm.
apartment
Hmm.
Facebook groups. So you can like join them and you can find some nice leads there. The
Hmm.
another like tip I generally give to the students is that in case you're not able to find anything directly from India, because I know many
Hmm.
times the people who are like willing to give you the apartment, that is generally on a higher price.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
don't find anything directly from India, like, come to Germany, stay in an Airbnb or something for a month,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
generally you will find on your university notice boards a lot of
Hmm.
listings for students asking
Right.
for other students who want to share
Hmm.
an apartment or something. So
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
also another way where you can like kind of think about like reducing your living costs a bit if you
Hmm.
want
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
like not directly get a place from India itself.
Right.
Perfect.
Also, so Bharat, I want to ask you something. Like in Ireland, sometimes there are a lot of accommodation scams that happen. One of my very good friend, he got scammed, unfortunately. So he tried to book an apartment before he moved to Ireland. So he deposited the money and he did everything, but then there was it was a complete fake listing and there was no real owner. So does some of the similar things happen in Germany as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to be very, very careful with these things and really watch out. There was, I
Hmm.
think, one student who wrote to me and he showed me like, hey, like this listing, like you just have 300 euros per month of rent. And
Hmm.
man, the apartment looked fancy. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is too good to be true. Like, be very careful with these things. And of course, in the end, like, turned out the owner was saying the story. Yeah, I've moved to Africa for now for the next 6 months or something. I will leave the key with this and this guy or something, but just like pay me the deposit and things like that. So I think you have to be definitely very careful with all of the scams
Right.
and stuff. Most of the
Mhm.
apartment owners will still ask you to like pay some kind of deposit in the starting,
Mhm.
but they will do it with the contract. So like you will know
Mhm.
the details of the person and everything. And they're also generally completely up for like, showing you their ID and stuff. So who
Mhm.
exactly is this person who is signing the contract with you?
Mhm.
So when you have these kind of things and you can get them on a call and like see the
Mhm.
apartment and stuff, I think like that's
Right.
already good. But if you're not able to do that, then I think be very careful in like
Sure.
selecting a contract and like just going ahead with the apartment.
Mhm.
hmm
Yes. Very
Um,
good tip there.
so and let's talk a bit about the job opportunities and stuff. Amit, because I know in Germany, for example, we have
Mhm.
I was just doing some research previously, so like we have 3.47 like million
Mhm.
companies. So generally
Mhm.
like finding a job in Germany is not so difficult. And
Mhm.
also in the IT sector. So the fun thing about IT sector is like anyways, no matter where you go in Europe, you will generally be able to get jobs without learning the local language that much.
Mhm.
And the same
Mhm.
is true in Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, whatsoever country you try to choose.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I think for most of the jobs and stuff, it is definitely recommended that you learn some kind of German, because
Mhm.
in my field, for example, I have my background from civil engineering. Now,
Hmm.
when you are from civil engineering, you have to go to the construction sites, talk to the
Hmm.
construction workers, architects, the authorities who come from the German public offices, and so on. So for all of those things, you need German. So there's going to be specific spectrum on which you are going to need German. Civil engineering
Hmm.
lies at the absolute, extreme side, where along with business administration, management, finance, and
Hmm.
things like that. Whereas on the other side, if you're towards IT, then like generally you can get by without knowing any kind of German and stuff.
Right.
And jobs in general in Germany is not such a big problem. How is it
Hmm.
in Ireland?
So, Bharat, in Ireland, things are, as you mentioned, there are lot of companies in Ireland as well, because the best part about Ireland is it is a tech-7 country. So a lot of big multinational companies have their European head offices in Ireland because of tax purposes. So, for example, Google have a huge office in Ireland. Similarly, for LinkedIn, for the company Amazon, all these companies have big data center, big offices in Ireland. So right now, the tech sector is extremely booming in Ireland. It also comes under critical visa list, and all the people that I know who studied tech in any way or form, it may be data analytics, data scientist, or anything related to tech, they all are earning a good amount of salaries in all these big companies they're working for. But other than that, also construction, as you mentioned, construction sector is also booming in Ireland. And the good part about a country like Ireland is there is no language barrier at all. So if you know English, you can get through any job, because everyone in Ireland speaks English. And everyone, in fact, Gaelic, which is like a lot of people ask me that do everyone over there speaks Gaelic, which is the Irish language, as many people understand. But no, English is a widely accepted and spoken language in Ireland as well, and every single person I know totally understand English.
Hmm. That's very nice. Yeah, I think language barrier is something that people should generally keep in mind, because it shouldn't be like, so many people make the choice of country too freely. So I think like you have to
Hmm.
really keep in all of the factors. So the weather of the country, the
Hmm.
language
Hmm.
barriers, like how long does it take to get your permanent residency or citizenship and things like that.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
language is definitely important way for Germany. Like the only thing I say is like if you're able to like learn German and
Hmm. Hmm.
go towards more business consulting side, management
Hmm. Hmm.
consulting and things like that, the
Hmm.
salaries that you generally get paid are very high, because you as an Indian are coming from another country with
Hmm. Hmm.
generally the work experience and the academic background of that country, and you also
Hmm.
have the experience of Germany. And this kind of intercultural experience is very valuable for most of the European countries.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's why I generally say, if you're coming from Germany to Europe, it does make more sense, because not only you have the freedom of traveling within the Europe with like
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
same kind of permanent residency, residence permit, whatsoever you have,
Hmm.
the
Hmm. Hmm.
rules are generally so much easier, and
Hmm.
you can pick and choose any country you want to like stay and live in. For example, you were
Hmm.
previously in Ireland, then you moved to like UK without any
Hmm.
kind of major problems. For
Hmm.
us, we started living in Germany for 3 years, then afterwards in 2020 we moved to Denmark, then 2021 we
Hmm.
moved to Romania. Now we are back in Denmark during the summers. So
Hmm.
this freedom of just choosing any country you want like throughout
Hmm.
your life when you're like living in Europe, I think
Hmm.
that is golden, and that is something which really
Right.
stands apart.
Hmm.
And something people should really think about when they're choosing Europe over USA, because you get to
Hmm.
experience so many cultures, so many languages. In US or Canada or other countries, it's just like straight like just English, English,
Right.
English. But here, you can just have so many different opportunities. Yeah.
Hmm.
And what is the story, Amit, now with the permanent residency and citizenship there?
So Bharat, when you come to Ireland, you come on a student visa, the 1 year visa, and later you can extend it for 2 more years. That is known as PW, post study work visa, PSW. And within that 2 years, you need to find an employer that will give you a work permit. So work permit is stamp 4 in Ireland. It is called stamp 4. So you have to be on work permit for 2 years to become a permanent resident in Ireland. And once you got a status of PR, within next 3 years you get to apply for citizenship. Right now I think there is some delay with the with application of citizenship, but usually you can, if everything goes in your favor, within 6 year you can become a permanent you can become a citizen of Ireland, in fact. So it's not
That's very
too
nice.
difficult to
Mhm.
settle down in Ireland.
That's very nice. And I think in Germany the rules are pretty similar. So for example, you come for your studies with the student visa. Then afterwards you have the job search visa for 18 months. Um, you work 2 years full time in a particular job, and when you do that, you're eligible directly for a permanent residency, same like
Mm,
what you see in Ireland.
mm,
And the nice thing here is that because you are a student, or like you were a student of a German
mm,
university, you get your degree from
mm,
there. For students, this is more of a fast track process, because otherwise the
mm,
permanent residency part in Germany takes at least 4 years. You
mm,
have blue card regulations and things like that, which gets you that for just in 21 months,
mhm.
or like 33 months, depending on what kind of language requirements you are fulfilling right now. But for students, generally, it's just like 2 years of full time work. Then
Okay.
afterwards, for the citizenship, it takes a total stay of 8 years. So this means if you're spending 2 years in your master's, you're spending 2 years to get your permanent residency. Then afterwards, after 4 years, you're able to get the citizenship in Germany
Mhm,
if you want to do that.
mhm. All right.
Perfect. So I think like this is a very nice quick comparison, and I think like it is pretty useful for most of the students who are really looking forward to understand where exactly should they go. Like, should they choose for Germany, Ireland, some other country? I think it's better that you have a good idea of every single country, and then you
Right.
like in the end decide the things for your own. Because again, Amit and I, we can talk to you about our own experiences, but like for every single person, the priorities they have, the problems that they're trying to solve is going to be different. So
Mm,
definitely make a nice list of pros and cons, and then like think about going to one country over the next. For the second part of this video, and for the people who want to like watch this video in Hindi, we are going to be making a video on Amit's channel. So do not forget to check out that video. I also know that some of the parents of the viewers who are watching, they also want to know about these things, and they're more comfortable in Hindi. So just take a look at that, and we will be uploading the video on Amit's channel soon too. So Amit, thank you so much for joining in again. It was very nice catching up with you, and we'll see you guys in another video. Bye.